Oh, good morning. I just thought I'd come and do another video about normal cameras, which I haven't done for a while. A little update on my gear, and because I had a few discussions about camera gear and that lately, um, different opinions, and I mean, look, the social media is so different, so opinionated, and it's incredible. Well, I'm going to come to that in a minute. Um, Now, a few months ago, you might remember I bought the Nikon Z6ii, which I've got here, and then I bought a Z7. I sold that. I didn't need to, so I sold that on. Now, is this any? Look, the autofocusing with the Nikons is not as good as it is with the old sonys or the Canons. But can you do wildlife photography with this? Well, the reason I have it is because of the lenses. It's not because of the autofocusing. I mean, yes, you can do it. There's about 4 focusing modes that I use on this, which work pretty well. The others don't. But here I've got, the 300mm PF. It's an absolute fantastic lens. And I was actually thinking of getting the 500 PF. But I'm not sure that I will, because I've got the teleconverter on this, which gives me 420. And then I've got the Sigma Sport 150 to 600. Now, I read on so many different forums and what have you. Oh, how the image quality is so, and the difference in image quality is far superior on social media and in forums and what have you. But in reality, it's not. And I've seen so many different. When you read and watch a lot of the comparisons between all these things, they actually kind of contradict each other, and they kind of actually really make the point that when you delve down into them, that actually there isn't an awful lot of difference between image quality of all these lenses. And I know it's not just about sharpness, but overall, I mean, I'll take a picture with this and take a picture with that. If I couldn't tell you which one took which. This is a really sharp lens, and it's the same with. I was looking and I thought, do I want the 5? Because the 500 would be nice, but it is a lot more expensive. I mean, this I picked up for about £900. I'm looking at over 2,000 for the 500, and even more for the 400. And I'm thinking, are they really going to give me another 1,500? Another 1,1300 pounds worth of image quality? And the simple answer to that is no, they're not. They're really not. It's a myth to think that they're going to give you far superior image quality, because they're not. And even if you bought the 600 f4, that's still not going to give you. You go on a forum, you go on a website, and it's worlds apart. It's worlds apart, but in reality, it isn't. I've looked at a lot of these images from all these different, and there isn't massive differences. There really isn't. It's such a myth, all these vast differences, and the way people talk. Oh, the only big difference is often the price and the weight. The size, the weight, and the price. They're the big differences, not the image quality. I mean, if you take, say, for example, the Sigma 105 1.4 or the 135 1.8 or the Sony equivalents, I mean, they are superb, top of the range, best image quality lenses that you will get, okay, without question. You know, I'm just using these as an example, but they are exceptionally sharp, really good, renowned, well-known image quality beasts. But would I really tell the difference if I took one from that and this? I wouldn't. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't, because this is incredibly sharp. You know, and then if I took one with this, went out and paid £12,000 for a 600mm f4, would I see at £10,000, £11,000 worth of difference? No, I wouldn't. So I think people need to stop. I don't think it will stop, but you know, I've had, you know, I suppose that if you've gone out and you spent £12,000 on a lens, you have got to, you know, build it up to be something spectacular and wonderful. But often you're going to build it up to, and it's not as spectacular and wonderful as you want it to be. I mean, it really isn't. And I think all these discussions about image quality, it's like this and the 200 to 600. There's really no difference between them. There really isn't. So, I need to turn this round a bit, don't I? That's it. You know, I can't tell the difference. But you get Sony fanboys that will insist that the 200 to 600 is a far superior. I mean, far superior. That's one of the comments I like. Far superior, and it's not far superior at all. It's just social media nonsense. So I was really veering towards the 500. I think it's not going to be any better than this when it comes to image quality. It's not really. I'm not going to notice. I'm sure I would take pictures with it and say, "Wow, that's beautiful." But I can do that with this as well, and this is far more versatile. You know, again, I was reading the nearest focal is about 10 feet. Well, that's quite a way. So, you know, anything under 10 feet, and you're not going to be able to focus on it. You know, that can be a disadvantage. You know, I can take great photos with this. I can take great photos with this. Most of it is about you as a photographer, not about the equipment, because most equipment nowadays is really good anyway, and you're really not going to notice any massive differences. The only massive differences in reality are on social media. You know, and if you disagree with me, then please feel free to put it in the comments. But I just want to, because people talk a lot of nonsense on social media, and the way they differentiate between one lens and another. Like there's some great massive difference between them, and there really isn't. There really isn't. Most of these minuscule differences, you would have to pixel peep to see them, you know. And it's like some of Christopher Frost, he's a great reviewer, he does thoroughly good reviews. But, you know, half the things that he reviews on each lens, like the chromatic aberrations and all that, I mean, it all depends what, you know, the chromatic aberrations, for instance, he's always taking a photo of a black and white writing, or printed writing. Well, you're not going to notice those chromatic aberrations if you're taking a photo of something completely different, which you're going to be. You know, a lot of these things you won't notice in real world situations. So, but people will, you know, he goes to great lengths to test these lenses and how good they are and all the rest of it. But, you know, if you look at the actual pictures that he takes, and at the end he's always got a picture of a statue. And if you go through all his videos and you look at them, you'd be hard pressed to tell which video or which lens he's talking about when you look at the picture, that end picture of that statue, because they all look near enough the same. You know, they really don't look that much different from one to another. So, you know, don't get hung up on image quality. Buy the lens that's going to suit you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching, you know, I watch videos and that. But if you really want to, you know, get value for money, you know, it's different if you're a professional and your gear is paid for by your job, or you know, your job pays for your gear, or your work pays for your gear, because then it doesn't matter so much if it's not coming out your pocket. But as a hobbyist, or somebody that just loves photography, you know, gas is a massive thing with, and we all get it, and I suffer from it. You know, the thought of getting the 500 PF, that was a bit of gas, but do I really need it? I've got 420mm, I want to take that off, I've got 300. I've got 150 to 600 here, so why do I need a 500 prime? What is that 500mm prime going to give me? This isn't. And, you know, it's really not a lot, because there's not a lot of difference between 5.6 and 6.3. It's not a massive difference, you know. None of them are really low light specialists. At 5.6 isn't a low light lens, so it's not a big deal. You know, if you really want to shoot wildlife in low light, then you've got to be looking at 2.8s. You know, and you'd probably be better getting a 70 to 200 to go with this for those lower light situations, or the 135 1.8. which gives you a reasonable amount, or a 200 f2, something like that. You're not going to get that longer reach, but it will give you that little bit of better low light performance, or even a 105, you know, 100mm, depending what you're going to shoot, but that will give you more of a, you know, so there's 100 things to consider. And I just thought, because I've had a few discussions, and I've read a few discussions and arguments about image quality, and you know, the reality is you're not going to notice it as much, you know, as I said before. If you've got a dozen pictures from a dozen different lenses, that I don't know whether there's anybody that could tell you which camera or which lens or which camera and lens combination took which photograph. Because the differences, by and large, are pixel peeping differences, and not that massive. Anyway, I just thought I'd do that. That come into my head because, you know, I was thinking about upgrading a lens, and now I'm thinking, well, no, I don't really need it. And there's nothing wrong with what I've got. You know, all this is excellent in its own right. So, anyway, that's it for now. And as I say, I'm stuck with it. The Sony won't be going anywhere, and I love this lens, and I love this combination too. So I don't need the 500. I was very tempted to get it, but what's it going to give me that I haven't got on this table? And really not a lot, other than a big bill. Till the next one.